Well, this weekend, Steelers history, Heinz Field made its debut. Hard to get August history in the NFL, but the date was August 25th, 2001, and Pittsburgh lost to the Detroit Lions 20-7. Ryan, you'll remember in 2001, Heinz Field cost $281 million to build. That's roughly $500 million today.
Sounds like a bargain compared to what stadiums are costing right now.
And that's what I was going to say. It's estimated that the league's newest stadium, SoFi, cost as much as $6 billion with a B when opened back in 2020. Well, let's shift gears slightly and talk about the entire AFC North. And Ryan, it was an interesting week for the Cleveland Browns, who cut Deontay Johnson and traded Kenny Pickett. Apparently they don't like former Steelers anymore.
Yeah, Pickett is heading to the Raiders. He's going to back up Geno Smith, so he's out of the mix. But the Browns still have an interesting and crowded QB room. Deshaun Watson was the Browns starter last year, but he'll begin the season on the physically unable to perform list after tearing his Achilles tendon last season. So veteran Joe Flacco has been tabbed as their Week 1 starter under center, but behind him there isn't very much experience. Remember, Flacco, a former Super Bowl champion, is in his second stint with the Browns. His backup will be rookie third-rounder Dillon Gabriel, who shined in the preseason, and then the third-string QB will be fifth-rounder Shedeur Sanders.
Well, down the state, Cincinnati will have Trey Hendrickson this season. Just a week ago, just this week I should say, he got a pay bump to end his holdout. Hendrickson will make nearly $30 million this season in the final year of his contract, with the extension to Nick Bosa and TJ Watt not hitting the books until next season. Hendrickson, the third highest paid edge rusher this year. Well, Baltimore also shored up its defense, extending two-time All-Pro safety Kyle Hamilton with a 4-year, $100 million extension. The 24-year-old is now the highest-paid safety in football. In just 3 seasons, he's got 250 tackles, 7 sacks from the secondary, which is pretty crazy. And Ryan, probably a top 3 safety right now in the NFL. But let's pivot to a new segment, Black and Gold Tailgate. We're in the kitchen today with Cindie Huhn of the Renegade Tailgate, a renowned Steelers tailgate outside of Acrisure Stadium each week for the last 16 seasons. Today, we're whipping up some meatballs.
So every tailgate I do is I take some meatballs that I make at home, and I take with my own homemade sauce. So I usually start with I use some minced garlic and a little bit of olive oil and some diced onions. So I throw in a bunch of diced onions and several cans of tomato sauce, or diced tomatoes. I'll use a little bit of basil, oregano, and some crushed red peppers. I use a little because they can be a little spicy and some people don't like a little spice in their sauce. And then I will use a little bit of sugar to flavoring, and then I'll let that cook all day. And then I'll add that to my meatballs throughout the day. And like I said, I'll let that literally cook all day long. And just a little bit of oregano. It's mostly basil and parsley. The 2 tablespoons of basil, 1 tablespoon of oregano, about 2 tablespoons of garlic, and then I use 3 cans of tomatoes, diced tomatoes, and 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and a handful of diced onions. But it is to let it simmer all day long, and it'll be on for maybe 3 or 4 hours.